Reacher. I'm never going to write a book series like Reacher. So I just immediately told myself, this is how I'm going to approach this job. I am going to take all the work that Lee Child has done. I am going to try as hard as I can to faithfully adapt that.
Police, don't move!
Jack Reacher, parents deceased, retired Army.
Bronze Star, Silver Star, and a Purple Heart.
What in God's name is a guy like that doing in Margrave?
What's a guy like that doing in jail? Zip ties?
Cuffs didn't fit him.
You guys recycle.
Nick, I love you representing the show with the hat. Very, very good promotion right there.
Listen, I have to do my job.
That's right. That's a producer right there, repping the show with the merch. Love it.
Thank you. Yeah.
I always wonder too, there's the directors and writers and the stars. When a show's about to come out, how does a director feel? Like, what sort of, do you have nerves? Like, what's it like with you when you have a show like this, like Reacher, a big show about to premiere, first season? What's kind of going through your mind now in the lead up to it, now that the show's wrapped and the production's done, and that anticipation of that show? What do you usually feel during this period?
Excitement. As a showrunner, I don't direct them. I don't act in them. I don't build the sets, but I write them with my writing staff. I oversee production meetings, things of that nature, and you just want things to go well for all the people that you've worked with that put all their heart and blood, sweat, and tears into it. So you're excited and you're hopeful and maybe a touch nervous, but for the most part, if you do your job, it's what I tell my kids when they take a test: prepare and study, and then whatever the grade is, the grade is.
That's well said. Because you can't do much else, right? If you did your best at preparation, you can't control sometimes outside factors.
The Mickey Rivers, who played for the New York Yankees, said when someone asked him, how does he stay so cool all the time? He said, if it's in my control, I don't worry about it. It's in my control. If it's out of my control, I don't worry about it. It's out of my control.
You know how much stress would be saved in life by just going with that mentality?
I don't always go with that mentality. I've been known to stress, trust me.
It's cool here that, Lee's obviously a writer at heart. You're a writer at heart too,
that's all I do is write. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was it like collaborating with a fellow writer like that and someone that's written these books and knows the story as well as anyone? Did you kind of share this, in a sense, a writer's perspective on it too, and outside of the executive producer with all the roles you have to do for that, but as writers, what was it like collaborating with him on the show?
It was amazing working with Lee because he's a legend. And, it's also easy to when you're working with someone to go, well, I don't have to try to impress this guy because I can't impress this guy. That's impossible because I could write for the rest of my life. I could try to write a book series like Reacher. I'm never going to write a book series like Reacher. So I just immediately told myself, this is how I'm going to approach this job. I am going to take all the work that Lee Child has done. I am going to try as hard as I can to faithfully adapt that. And if Lee says something does not work, it just doesn't get done. It was actually very, very easy because Lee did 99.999% of the work. It was already all written. And Lee is the ultimate barometer. If I just reach out to him and say, Lee, does this work? And he says no, I move on. And so you lose all that angst of debate.
The chain of command is set with Lee, basically. That's that's right. That's the director. Yeah. That's the final decision maker, basically, right?
I'm the showrunner, and he's the grand poobah of Reacher. He's the Reacher boss. He is, Lee Child is Jack Reacher. He created him. So if he says no go, it's no go. And if he says, oh, I like that idea, that works, I do it. It's really freeing.
It's actually pretty good to have the actual source right there, right? I mean,
yeah. Hey, Lee, we're thinking about adding this, runner where X, Y, or Z happens. And he looks at it and he goes, yeah, I like that. That sounds like Reacher. moving on. So,
Simple and easy.
Simple
That's a way to, hey, if all sets were like that, right? Simple
Yeah.
decision making, and that makes things a lot easier all around.
That's right. It would
You know,
be.
I spoke to Lee and obviously Alan. That role of Jack Reacher is so controversial because fans are so passionate about it. From the height to the look. I mean, I had done an interview with Alan on a previous film a few months ago, and people were already talking about Reacher. Oh, he's too pretty. He's this and that. Like, how did you know when you and Lee are kind of casting for this role that obviously, as I mentioned to them, that Alan's a confident guy? That's a really good casting right there because he can handle this sort of stuff. But how did you know, in a sense, through a casting process, like, yeah, Alan's that guy, especially since you were, I think, casting during the pandemic and it was like tapes basically sent in. At what point did you know that we need to go with this guy because he's got the secret sauce there to be Jack Reacher?
You know, it's funny because everyone felt it. I tell people, look, I know who I am. I'm not J.J. Abrams. I'm not Steven Spielberg. I don't wield a ton of power in this industry.
That's a key to success, though, knowing who you are, your limits and capabilities.
I know who I am. And what I am is a guy who works with great people. And so I get to work with Skydance and Amazon and all of these producers. And we all talk as a team. And how are we going to do things here? And we all felt, even though we saw so many incredibly talented actors for this role, it eventually got to the point where we looked and we said, man, Alan's nailing this. He's just nailing this. And Alan exudes so many of these character traits that are unique to Reacher. I think he has them in real life, which is a sense of decency and respect and kindness, which is something that Reacher has to good people. To bad people who'll rip their arms off.
Right.
And Alan just really portrayed that, and we were fortunate to get to work with him.
You know, I mentioned that to him. Even there's Reacher, you know, the vision of it, because it's a fictional character when we come down to it. But there's a sense of Alan. I've seen Alan in a lot of films, but there's that persona of his, and I always feel like you like seeing a little bit of that person actually in the role. Like Jack Reacher is Alan, in a sense, and not Alan being Jack Reacher. And I feel like you see with some of the humor, the mannerisms, I'm like, oh, that's Alan doing a Jack Reacher role, you know, and it made it more personable. I felt like watching this, I'm like, oh, it's a little bit different because it's Alan doing it, and no one else could do Alan like he can do himself. And I felt like that was cool to kind of allow him be that. Did you guys notice that he brought himself into the role too?
Yeah, well, Alan has an innate charisma to him. Alan is he's a very nice guy who I think draws people in. I think if Alan was on a college campus, he'd be president of the student body. I think if Alan ran for office, he'd probably win.
I can see that.
If Alan joins the PTA at his kid's school, he'll probably be president of the PTA. He has a charisma. And that, you're right, that was brought into this role. And look, I've never been in a room with Alan Ritchson. I've never shook his hand. I've never met him personally. Same thing with Lee Child. It's all been over computers. And I still feel that charisma from both of them, frankly. Lee Child, if you've had an opportunity to speak with him, he has a charisma.
He commands the room. He's got a presence, certainly.
I'm the most boring, non-charismatic person of everyone involved in this project. The bottom line is when you see someone like that, you cast them.
I'm curious, now season 1's going to come out. How far ahead as a producer do you have this mapped out? I mean, hopefully it goes all well. I don't see why it wouldn't. There's such a strong fan base. How many seasons you kind of plan ahead in a sense? And once the first one starts, is presented to the world?
I've been thinking what the next 26 seasons are going to be.
Yes, that's a really good point right there as a producer. Yes.
26 books. You plan ahead in the hopes of success. And I hope we get a second season. I really, really believe in the show because I believe in what Lee Child wrote, and I believe in Alan and our cast and our crew. And you just look. My job, the way I make a living, is absurd. Make up a story, write it down, and hope someone wants to pay you for it. It's a stupid way to make a living. So you never count too far ahead into the future. as soon as a show's over, you're unemployed again and you have to go sing for your supper and hope you can sell something. So I hope we get a second season. And if we do, we'll be raring to go. Ready to
I hope you have more than a second, third, fourth, and fifth. You guys are creating something outstanding. You got the right people, and that's what matters at the end, leading this project and in front of it too. So fantastic job. I can't wait for February 4th for people to finally see it and stop commenting with absurdity on my comment boards, until you see it and then know that exactly you guys got it right. So awesome job. And it's cool that you're part of the project and brought it to reality.
Oh, thank you. Listen, we all did. We had a crew of over 100 some odd people, incredible team effort.
Awesome, Nick. Hope to catch up on the next one.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too, Nick. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.